In today's video, I'm going to show you how to convert your Figma design into a fully responsive website using an intuitive platform called Wix Studio. So let's dive in. Alright, here is the landing page I already designed. As you can see, we have a nav bar at the top. Then we have the hero section with this large screenshot of this dashboard. If I scroll down, we have a few feature sections. And then we have a simple CTA section and finally a footer. And that's the landing page we are going to build in Wix Studio. So let's get started. First, I'm going to create a new site here in Wix Studio. Here we have a blank project. At the top, we have this header, then we have this empty section, and here we have a footer. I'm going to remove the footer and also the header because we are going to start from scratch and we are going to build all these elements by ourselves. The first thing I'm going to do is create my styles. So on the left side, if I go to the site styles, here I can set up my typography styles, and then we can set up our color styles. Here, as you can see, I already prepared my typography and color styles. Basically for this project, I just used a monochromatic color scheme, which means that we only use one hue with different shades and different tints. So here we only use the gray color. And here for our typography, I have 3 headings and 2 paragraphs. So I'm going to go ahead and create my color styles. Here I'm going to keep the white color, but I'm going to change this one. I'm just going to copy the color code of this gray 25 and just paste it right there. And I'm going to hit apply, and there it is. Our color style is saved, and I'm going to go ahead and create all other color styles quickly. All right, my color styles are ready. Now it's time to create our typography styles. So here, as you can see, we have some predefined typography styles. We have heading 1, heading 2, heading 3, 4, 5, 6, and then we have paragraph 1, 2, and 3. Obviously, we don't need to use all these headings in our project, but if you need to use them, you can go ahead and modify their size. So here, I'm going to check the font size of my first heading, which is going to be 60. So here, I'm going to change the font to Poppins. If you don't have this Poppins typeface, you can always upload your own fonts. You can simply download your fonts and upload them to your project. Alright, I'm going to set the font size to 60. And here we have this scale text switch, which is turned on, which means that our H1 heading is responsive by default. Later on, I'll show you how it works, but for now, just remember that you can turn it off or on for a specific typography style. Okay, I'm going to leave it as is, hit apply, and now I'm going to go ahead and modify these other text styles, and I'm going to fast forward this process. Alright, our text styles are ready. Now it's time to import our assets into our project. So I'm going to click on this plus icon here, and I'm going to go to media, and here I'm going to click on upload media, and you can just drag and drop your assets here. I already exported all the assets we need for this project, such as the logo here, this screenshot, these images, so everything is ready, and you can download the asset folder from the link in the description to follow along easily. So I'm going to drag and drop the assets right here. Alright, now that our assets are also ready, it's time to start working on our project. So here, as you can see, the canvas size is set to 1280. I'm going to change it because here, as you can see, I used a larger frame, 1440. So to match my project, I'm just going to click here and I'm just going to change it to 1440, just like that, and I'm going to hit apply. Now we are going to create all these sections one by one, and we are going to start with our nav bar. Okay, let's see what we need. Here we need to have a section, and inside we need to have this logo, a few menu items, and 2 buttons on the right side. So let's see how we can create it. If I hover over this section, I'll see this blue plus icon. I'm going to click on it to create a new section, and I'm just going to decrease its height. We will adjust its height later. Here, as you can see, we have 2 sections, and this one is going to be our nav bar. I'm just going to double click on its name and change it to nav bar. And inside, I'm going to need the logo. To add the logo here, I'm going to go to the elements panel. And from here, I'm going to go to media, and I can find my logo here. I'm just going to click on it and hit add to page. As you can see, it's too big for our nav bar, so we just need to resize it. I'm going to set its height to 32 according to our design here, as you can see, and the width is going to be 97. and I'm gonna put it inside my nav bar section, just like this. Don't worry about the padding, we are gonna fix that later. The next thing we need is a few menu items. According to our design, we need to create 4 different menu items: home, customers, features, and pricing. To do that, first, we need to head over to the pages panel, and here you'll see all your pages. I'm gonna hit this plus button. We already have the home page, so we don't need to recreate it. And I'm gonna hit add, and here I'm gonna type customers, like that. I'm gonna create another page. The next one is gonna be features. Let's create another one. This one is gonna be pricing. And that's all. We have 4 pages. I'm gonna head over to the home page. And now I'm gonna go to the elements panel, and from here I'm gonna choose menu and search, and here we have a few pre-built menus. I'm gonna go with this one because it's quite similar to the one we need, so I'm just gonna drag it and drop it inside our navbar like that. But as you can see here, we only have 1 menu item. To fix that, I'm just gonna click on manage menu, and as you can see here, we only see the home page. I'm gonna click on add item, main pages, and here I am going to choose all pages. So make sure to check this checkbox and hit apply, and there we go. We have all our pages populated here. Now we need to adjust the spacing a little bit according to our design. So if I check the margin between these menu items here, as you can see, the gap between them is set to 32 pixels. So here, while this horizontal menu container is selected, I'm going to click on this layout icon, and this menu layout window pops up. Here we can adjust the settings of this menu. Okay, as you can see, we have the horizontal spacing. I'm going to set it to 32. All right, we don't need any vertical spacing, so I'm going to remove that. The text alignment is going to be left, and here we have the item padding. I'm going to set it to 0, and this one could be set to 8 to make sure that our menu items are perfectly aligned with our logo here. Okay, all right, so far so good. Our menu items are ready. Now we need to adjust the typeface of these menu items. Okay, so what I'm going to do is select this horizontal menu container, and here you can see this drop down menu. I'm going to open it up. I'm going to choose menu items, and here's where you can modify the appearance of your menu items. I'm going to open up this text section, and from here I'm going to change the style to paragraph 2, and I'm going to set the weight to medium. Let's make this container a little bit bigger, like that. And also we need to change the color of these menu items. So while we are here, let's go to text and just change it here to our dark gray, like that. All right, so far so good. But there is one more thing we need to do here. As you can see, the selected menu item's color is set to blue. I'm going to change that. If I head over to menu item state, as you can see, it's set to regular. I'm going to change it to current page, and here I'm going to change it to black, like this. And then I'm going to go to hover. It's also set to blue. I'm going to change it to the darkest color. All right, good. Now let's preview our site here. As you can see, the color of our selected state is set to black. And if I hover over these menu items, they turn black as well. All right, good. But what about the alignment? Here, we need to select these 2 elements, our logo and this horizontal menu container, and we need to click on stack like this to be able to align them perfectly. It's just like auto layout in Figma. Okay, the direction obviously should be set to horizontal. I'm going to select the elements inside and set their alignment to center and center like this. I'm going to select the stack and just set the spacing to 40 according to our design. I'm going to change it here to 40 pixels. All right, the left part is done. Now we need to create our buttons on the right side. I'm going to go to the add elements panel, and from here, let's go to buttons, and we need one contain button just like this. Let's drag and drop it here. We need to change the text to start for free. Let's click on change text and change it to start for free, like that. Then I'm going to go to text, and from here I'm going to make sure that I'm using paragraph 2, and the weight is going to be medium instead of regular. So let's change that to Poppins medium, and our text color is going to be white. What else? The corner radius should be changed as well. Here I'm going to select the button, and as you can see, the corner radius is set to 12. So let's adjust that. I'm going to set it to 12, and we are almost done. We just need to change the width and height of this button according to our design. So the height is going to be 52 and the width is going to be 147. So let's change it to 52 and the width is going to be 147. Okay, our first button is ready. Now let's create our outline button. Well, we can go ahead and just drag and drop an outline button and style it. That's one way, or we can create it from scratch. The choice is yours, but I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this button that I created. I'm going to move it right there, and let's change the text to sign in like this. We need to get rid of our background. So here I'm going to decrease the opacity of background to 0 like that. Then I'm going to go to text and change its color to gray. Now we need to add a border to this button. So here I'm going to go to border and set the width to 2 pixels. And the color is going to be gray like this, but it should be a bit smaller. The height should be 52, but the width should be 101 as you can see. So let's decrease it to 101. And our buttons are ready. Now I'm going to hold down the shift key on my keyboard to select them both. Click on stack and set the spacing in between to 12. And we are almost done with the buttons. However, we need to do one more thing. If I just preview these buttons, look what happens when I hover over them. You see, it doesn't look good. So let's fix that quickly. I'm going to select this first button and I'm going to head over to the hover state. Just change the hover state color to this shade. Now I'm going to select this button and just go to the hover state and adjust the opacity of the background to 0 because we don't need any background color for this button. Then let's go to border and just change its color to something darker like this. And the text could be dark gray as well. So now if we preview that, you see, it's much better now. All right, our elements are ready. However, the alignment doesn't look good. So let's see how we can fix that issue. Well, for this project, I used a 150 pixel margin when I created this layout grid, okay? Therefore, we need to use a 150 pixel padding for all our sections to push the content towards the center. So here, I'm gonna select this navbar section. And if I just scroll down, as you can see, we have this docking, margins, and padding, and we can adjust these values. But here we have a percentage unit, which is a good thing because it allows us to make our design responsive rather than having a fixed pixel value. But in Figma, we don't have such a thing. So how can we deal with this issue? Well, here is a trick you can use. I'm going to change the unit here. If I just click on this percentage icon, I can change the unit to pixels and I can set this value to 150. Then I can change it back to percentage and Wix Studio will calculate the percentage value based on our pixel value, just like this. And the percentage value is 10.4. So from now on, whenever we create a new section, we set the left and right padding to 10.4%. Okay, so let's set the right padding to 10.4. Now I'm going to select this stack and align it to the left side, just like this, and align it vertically as well. Select this stack, align it to the right side, and align it to the center vertically. And we should also decrease the height of this nav bar. So if I select this nav bar in my Figma project, you can see that I set the height to 80. So let's change it to 80. And our nav bar is ready. But let's see whether it's responsive or not. I'm going to preview it and I'm going to try to adjust the size of my screen. Just like that. Here we have an issue, we need to fix it. But as you can see, my buttons are scaling proportionately. This logo is also scaling proportionately. That's not what I want. For some elements, we need to make sure that they have a fixed size. To achieve that, we need to simply select that particular element. In this case, it's this logo. And here, as you can see, we have this responsive behavior option, and by default it's set to scale proportionally. I'm going to change it to fixed, and for these two buttons we need to change it to fixed as well, because we don't need them to be scaled like that. And now if we preview it once again, you see they are fixed and their size doesn't change. But how can we fix this issue here? To fix this issue, I'm going to select this horizontal menu container, and I'm going to change its responsive behavior from relative width to fixed, and it should be fixed. There we go. All right, our nav bar is ready. Now it's time to move on to our hero section. So here we already have this section. Let's see how we should structure our hero section. Well, here is how I structured it. Here is our hero section, and inside I created two containers, and in the top container I put all these texts and these buttons, and in the bottom container I placed this large screenshot. And we are going to do the same thing in Wix Studio. So here we have the section. We need to create two cells, so I'm just going to click on this icon, and now as you can see it's divided into two equal cells. So here inside the top one we need to place a large heading. Let's go to text, and from here I'm going to choose heading 1. There it is. Let's copy this text and paste it here. And the color is set correctly. I'm going to align it to the center, and I'm going to need another text. So here I'm going to add a paragraph, maybe this one, and let's copy this one and paste it right here. Let's change its color to this dark gray and make it a bit larger. We can check the width of this text layer here. It should be set to 692. I'm going to set it to 692. Align the text to center. Align it to the center here as well. So we have our text layers. Now we need two buttons. Well, since we created these buttons already, we can simply select this stack, copy it, select this cell and paste it here. So just select that stack, hit Ctrl C, then select the cell. Make sure to select the cell, not the section, and then hit Ctrl V or Command V and paste it right here. We just need to adjust their text. So here, start for free. This one should be demo. Let me change it to demo. All right, we have all the elements we need. Now let's set the spacing correctly. So here, the margin between these two elements should be 24, and the margin between this description, or let's say subtitle, and this button stack should be set to 48. All right, so what we can do is select all these elements, hold down the Shift key and select them all. Create a stack and just adjust the spacing here. I'm going to set this to 24 and this one should be 48. All right, good. Now we can move on to our next container and place this screenshot there. So here I'm going to select this cell and I'm going to click on Add Media. And from my assets, I'm going to choose this screenshot and hit Add to Page. There it is. While this image is selected, I'm going to click on this icon to unstretch it. Like this. Now I can easily adjust its size. So the size should be 1440. And as for the height, I'm going to set it to 900. All right, good. I'm just going to move it down. And our bottom container is also ready. But what about the responsive behavior? Let's see whether it works properly or not. I'm just going to preview it. All right, as you can see, it's scaling down proportionately, and that's exactly what we need. However, we have an issue here, and that's not having enough margin above our headline. So to fix this issue, we just need to add some top padding to this section. Let me check our design. As you can see, I have a 96 pixel top padding here. So what I'm going to do is select this section, and from here, I'm going to set the top padding to 96 pixels, not percent. It's so important. And now we have enough breathing room. Let's preview it once again. Okay, so far so good, but here we have another issue with these buttons. As you can see, their alignment is not right. We need to select this button stack and align it to the center. And now let's check it out once again. Okay, the alignment issue is fixed, But here we have another issue with the description. As you can see, the description is scaling down proportionately, the font size I mean, and that's not what we need. The same thing applies to this headline. For some projects, you might need your headline to be scaled proportionately, but for this project, I don't need my H1, which is the most important headline, to be scaled down proportionately. So what we can do is select this headline and just change the responsive behavior to fixed. And for this description, I'm going to change the responsive behavior to wrap. Now let's align them to the center once again. It's so important. All right, everything looks good. But I think we can set the responsive behavior of this headline to wrap as well. Like this. Okay, we need to change the alignment to center and it should work just fine. All right, perfect. Our hero section is ready. Now it's time to move on to our features section. So let's see what we need here for the features section. Well, here we have a very simple and common layout. We have a section that includes 2 cells inside. As you can see, I have a container, and inside this container, I have 2 cells. And on the left side here, I have a large box, and inside this box, I have an image. And on the right side, I have these content. So let's go ahead and quickly create this section together. I'm just gonna create another section here. Just hit this plus button. And inside, I'm gonna need 2 columns. So I'm gonna click on this columns icon. And the first thing I'm gonna do is set the padding. So here, I'm going to set the left and right padding to 10.4 and here 10.4 as well. But we need to have some vertical padding as well, which is going to be 96 pixels. Okay, so here I'm going to change the unit to pixel and set the value to 96. And here as well, I'm going to set the value to 96 pixels. But there is no gap between these 2 cells. So I'm going to select this section. And if you head over to the layout section, you will be able to adjust the gap value. So here, I'm going to select this container. And as you can see, the gap between these 2 cells should be set to 96 as well. So I'm going to set it to 96. There we go. We have our 2 cells. And now it's time to add our content to these cells. On the left side, I'm going to add a background color to it, which is not part of my color palette. I'm just going to select this card here, copy its color code, and paste it right here, just like that. Then I'm going to make it rounded. So the corner radius value should be 24. I'm going to increase the corner radius to 24 pixels. And now it's time to add our image to this cell. So while it's selected, I'm going to hit add media. And from here, I'm going to pick this one, hit add to page. There it is. I'm going to unstretch it like that and just adjust its size. Let me lock the aspect ratio and just set the width to 460 according to my design. And just align it to the bottom. But here we have an issue. As you can see, we have this empty space which doesn't exist that much in our design. And the reason is here we have a smaller card. Here the height of this card is set to 498. But here the height of this card, or let's say this cell, is set to 563. As you can see, I cannot modify that. But what I can do is select our section and change its height here. So if I select the section here, you'll see that the height is set to 690. I can set it to 690. And now we have a smaller cell and that empty space is gone. All right, cool. Here is our image. It's perfectly aligned. The left cell is done. Now let's move on to the right cell. So here we need to have a few text layers and one button. Let me copy this text and just add a paragraph here. This one. There it is. I'm going to paste it here. It's going to be P2, paragraph 2. And the color is going to be dark gray. And it should be medium, not regular. I'm going to set its responsive behavior to hug the content. And now I need a heading. So this time I'm going to go with heading 2. Let's copy the text here. I'm going to paste it there and let's make it a bit smaller like this. Now we need a description as well. So what I'm going to do is select this paragraph, duplicate it, hit Ctrl D or Command D, bring it down and just copy and paste this description. This is a lorem ipsum text. So I'm going to select it and change its responsive behavior to wrap. And let's place it here. Now we need a button as well. So I'm just going to select this one, not the whole stack, just this button, copy it and paste it inside this cell and bring it down here. And you can adjust the text. It should be start using layers, which is the name of this fictional company. I'm going to change the text to start using layers, and the button size should be changed as well. It should be set to 246. So let's set the width to 246. So far so good. Now it's time to create a stack. We just need to hold down the shift key and select all these elements one by one. Hit stack and set the spacing properly. First, I'm going to select the elements inside, align them to the left, make sure that all the elements are aligned to the left. Then I'm going to select the stack and set the spacing between them. So here, let's see what we have. Well, the gap between these text layers should be set to 16 pixels, but here we have a much larger gap. It should be set to 32. So I'm going to set this to 16, this one to 16 as well, but here I'm going to set it to 32. Now I'm going to align the whole stack to the left, but what about its width? As you can see here, we have some empty space. Well, while this stack is selected, I'm going to set the width to 100%. If I just type 100% and I hit enter, look what happens. You see the width is automatically adjusted to 522 to take up the whole available space within this particular cell. And that's exactly what we need. All right, now let's preview it and see whether everything works or not. Okay, perfect. So far, so good. We need to change something else here, and that is the background color. So here, as you can see, we have a very light background color for this section to separate it from our hero section. So it's quite easy to fix. I'm just going to select this section and just change its background color to our light tint. And our first feature section is ready. Now let's move on to the next feature section, which is this one. Since we created the layout already, it's going to be much faster to create this section. I'm just going to duplicate this section. Make sure to select the section, not the cells inside. I'm going to select the section, hit Ctrl D or Command D to duplicate it. There it is. The first thing I'm going to do is change the background color back to white, because this section should have a white background color. Don't forget that. Then we need to swap these cells. If I just select one cell, I'll see this little blue icon. If I just left click and drag and I bring it on top of the other cell, you will see it says swap content. I'm just gonna drop it here and there we go. They are swapped. I'm not gonna change the content on the left. I'm just gonna change this image. I'm gonna select it, hit change image, and we are gonna choose this one. Hit update. Nice. I'm just going to move it to the right side like this. And let's make it a bit bigger. All right, it looks good. Let's preview it for a second. As you can see, it scales proportionately as well. Let's quickly move on to the next section. I'm just going to duplicate this one again, the first section. Select it, duplicate it, and just bring it down here. First, let me change the image quickly. Well, our image is cropped. I'm going to click on this crop icon and just change it to make sure that our drop shadow is visible. Hit apply like that. And I'm going to move it down here because right at the top, we need to put a text layer. So let me just copy it. And let's add a heading here, maybe heading 4. I didn't adjust the typeface of heading 4, but I can quickly go ahead and adjust it here. I'm going to set the font size to 28 and the typeface is going to be Poppins. Hit apply. Now let's select this heading. I'm just going to change the weight to semi-bold and let's paste the text right here and decrease its width. And I'm going to place it right there. Now let's preview it and see whether everything is responsive or not. Nice, everything looks good. Now on the right side, we need to adjust the content. Here, as you can see, we have an icon, then we have a text layer. So we can simply place an image and then place a text layer and just stack them. All right, it's quite simple. Let's go ahead and quickly do that. I'm going to get rid of this heading and also this text and this button. We don't need that. I'm going to keep this text, and let's just copy this text from our design. I'm going to paste it here, and I'm going to set its responsive behavior to fixed for now. Let's decrease its width like this. I'm going to select these two words, cloud storage, and change their color to dark gray. And the typography style should be paragraph 1. Let's change the color of this paragraph to this light gray. We can select these two words and make them bold as well. Okay, our text is ready. Now we need an icon. So I'm going to go to media, and from here I'm going to choose cloud. There it is. Let's place it right there. The size of this icon should be 30 by 30. So I'm going to scale it down to 30 by 30. Let's place it right there. Now I'm going to select these two, hold down the shift key, select them both, stack them, and just set the spacing. The spacing between these two should be 12. So I'm just going to set the spacing to 12. And now we can select this stack, duplicate it, bring it down. Then you can change the text. I'm just going to quickly copy this text and paste it over here. And finally change the icon. All right, now I'm going to duplicate it once again and quickly change the content. All right, now let's select these three stacks like that and stack them once again, because we need to be able to adjust the spacing between them, and the gap between them should be set to 64. So let's set it to 64 pixels and align it to the left and center. Now let's preview it. All right, everything looks good. Now we can move on to the next section, which is our CTA section. It's going to be so simple. We just need one section. Inside, we need to have one headline, one paragraph, and two buttons. I'm just going to fast forward this process because it's quite easy. You just need to know that once you add a section, first you need to set the padding. Now let's move on to the last section of this landing page, which is the footer. For the footer, we are not gonna create it from scratch, because here, if you go to sections and you go to footers, we can use one of these templates and modify it. I'm gonna go with this one and make sure that it's placed at the bottom. The first thing you notice is the padding. So the padding is not consistent with other sections of our project. So let's fix that quickly. Here, the left and right padding, as you may remember, should be set to 10.4, and the top and bottom padding should be set to 96 pixels, not 96%. So here we have a stack for this logo. Let's just get rid of this text. We don't need that. And I'm just going to select this logo, remove it, and let's copy our logo from our nav bar. I'm going to copy it, paste it inside this cell. It's way too small. Let's check our design and see how large it should be. Okay, so I'm going to set the height to 52, like this, and align it to the left and top of this cell. This copyright disclaimer should be placed on the left side, so we can just select this cell and remove it, and it will be pushed to the left side. Let's just preview it and see whether it works or not. Okay, everything works perfectly. Let's just add a background color to our footer. I'm going to select this section and just set the background color to light gray. All right, now that our desktop version is ready, it's time to move to other breakpoints, because here we have tablet and mobile as well, and make sure that everything looks good on those devices as well. If I go to tablet, look what happens. As you can see here, we have overflowing content, which is not good. Here our hero section looks good. Maybe we could decrease our padding to make some room for our content, but it looks fine. The nav bar needs some work. Here the layout looks fine. Maybe we could adjust the size of this screenshot here as well. And here we need to make some adjustments. So let's start with the nav bar. Well, on the tablet and on mobile, we can hide these menu items and replace them with a hamburger menu icon, so we could just open and close our menu. But you might say, Arash, wait, we don't have any hamburger menu icon here. Well, don't worry, we are going to add one. First, while I'm on the tablet breakpoint, I'm going to select this horizontal menu container, right click on it, and just click on hide. Make sure not to remove it, because once you remove an element, it will be removed from all the breakpoints: desktop, tablet, and mobile. You can hide elements, but you should not remove them. We can also get rid of these two buttons. I'm just going to select the stack, right click on it, and just hide it. Here we need to add one hamburger menu icon, but we need to add it to our desktop breakpoint first, and then we can hide it here. So here I'm going to go to menu, and I'm going to look for hamburger menus and just drag and drop one of these icons, maybe this one, to our navbar. It's way too big. Let's scale it down. I'm going to set its width and height to 32. We can obviously replace it with our own icon. Now I'm going to align it to the right and to the center vertically, and I'm going to make sure that it's hidden. So on the desktop breakpoint, I'm just going to hide it, but on tablet, I'm just going to unhide it. And we can also increase the height of our navbar a little bit on tablet. So I'm going to select the navbar and just set the height to 80. Maybe we can decrease the top padding here to 40. Here I'm going to enlarge this image like this. All right, it's much better now, as you can see. The same thing applies to this image. Let's make it a bit larger and just modify its alignment. However, as you can see here, we have this overflowing content. To fix this issue, I'm going to select the cell, and if you go to layout, you will see this drop down menu, which is set to show by default. You need to set it to hide. Let's scroll down. Here for this section, we have this overflowing content. So to fix this issue, I'm going to select this text and just decrease its width like this. The same thing applies to this text. And we can decrease the gap between these texts as well to 32. And here we have an issue with the order of our sections. So let's just move this section and put it below our CTA section. All right, our tablet breakpoint is also ready. Now we need to move on to our mobile breakpoint. Keep in mind that whatever changes we make to our breakpoints will cascade down. So if I change something on the desktop breakpoint, it will cascade down to the tablet and the mobile breakpoints as well. Whatever changes I make to the tablet breakpoint will only cascade down to the mobile breakpoint, not to the desktop breakpoint. So here on mobile, we have a very large heading. Well, to fix this issue, what we can do is head over to our tablet breakpoint, select this heading, and instead of wrap, we can set it to scale proportionately like that. And now on mobile, the issue will be fixed. However, we still need to fix a few other things, such as this navbar. I'm going to select it, increase its height to 80. Then I'm going to select this paragraph, set its width to 100%. We can remove the screenshot, but I'm going to leave it as is. It's fine. However, we need to increase the gap between these two cells like this. But what about these sections? Well, since we don't have much room on the mobile breakpoint, we need to modify the layout here. What we can do is change the layout from columns to rows. So I'm going to select this section and change it to rows, and it's much better now, isn't it? However, I'm going to select this text, it's scaled down dramatically, and just increase its font size to 16. And we need to increase the gap. So I'm going to select the section, and here I'm going to set the gap to 32. And we need to repeat the same thing for all these sections. So I'm going to fast forward this process and make these changes. All right, our feature sections are done. Now let's move on to our next section. Here we need to change the order of our sections. Once again, it should be placed down here. Our footer is already responsive, so we don't need to make any changes to it. However, here we have an issue. I'm going to select this stack, set its width to 100% like that. Let's select this heading and change it to wrap and decrease its width like this. Change the alignment to center, align it to the center, and align the whole stack to the center as well, and the content inside. Alright, it looks good. Now let's preview our project. We have our desktop version, everything looks good. We move on to our tablet version, and finally our mobile version. Alright, before we wrap up this video, I'd like to show you how you can animate your elements as well. Okay, we are not going to animate all our elements. I'm just going to show you how it's done quickly. So here, let's say we want to animate this screenshot. It would be cool on scroll. So let's see how it goes. I'm going to select this image. I'm going to head over to the animations and effects. From here, I'm going to click on scroll. This is going to be our trigger. Hit add. And here I'm going to choose maybe arc, like that. Let me preview it quickly. You see that? As soon as I scroll, the animation plays. And that's exactly what we need. But it's a little bit too much. So let's adjust it quickly. Here, if I just click on adjust animation, I can adjust this value a bit like this to something like 27. And now it would be much better. It's pretty cool, isn't it? If you want to learn more about Wix Studio and take your web design business to the next level, make sure to check out this video. Thank you so much for watching this video. If you found it helpful, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel for more design tutorials. Have a great day and see you next time.